Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Chronicles with us, the Red Devil Chronicle. My name's Andy.
And my name's Nick.
And this week we're talking about something a little bit different here. Lukaku, Benteke, are they really the talents that we're after? We're going to discuss that next as the fans take over. Before we go into that, though, we have had a bit of a poll running this week on Twitter at WeFollowUnited. We've called it Stay or Sell. Now, this was the first part of the fan takeover for this week. We will get back to the Lukaku and Benteke debate, which is an interesting one. First of all, though, let's start with the Stay or Sell. Basically, the concept was we posted pictures of various players that are on the fringes or perhaps being questioned at United and asked you, the fans, if you would, ask them to stay or if you'd sell them. I'm going to kick this one off. We started off with Raphael, of course, the right wing-back that's disappeared out of the limelight at United. Now, on this vote, 72% of our fans said stay.
I find that very surprising.
Interesting one, that. I was surprised when I looked through the results on that. Just to give you a bit of input on that, just to give you an idea, we had a response from at Man United NSW. He said, would love to see him continue at MUFC, gives everything to the club, but understandable that he's on thin ice with fitness. For me,
it's more than fitness issues.
Just about to say, it's more than fitness for me.
I think there's a multiple of issues with Raphael at the moment. Discipline, fitness.
Huge one, yeah.
Injuries, consistency. I think big game, performances are never there. He seems to either get sent off or just gives a poor performance or does something stupid.
Definitely. All of the above, I completely agree with.
I wouldn't have agreed with keeping him, to be perfect. I think we'd get a decent fee for him and I'd move him on. I
would definitely too. I just don't think he's not going to make the step up to United quality.
Don't get me wrong, I used to love him.
Do you think that's what the 72% of fans are sort of basing it on?
Good old days, yeah. The season we won the league, he was brilliant.
Yeah.
I think the season before that, he was brilliant. I don't think he's progressed.
And he does play with a lot of heart, so I think that endears himself to a lot of fans more than the actual talent he possesses.
He wears his heart on his sleeve. You've got to give him that.
So, 72% saying stay for Raphael. Next up, Nick, you had Valencia.
This one we're looking at here, we've got one of our frequent customers on the We Follow United. It's Copious Opium, who said for Valencia to stay, he's versatile, committed, and a great squad player to have around. And I'd have to be inclined to agree with that, to be honest.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't get rid of him. He's at the right age. I think he's about 29, so he's at the peak of his powers. He's very quick. Obviously, we all know his weakness. He never likes to use his left foot, and it's become pretty comical for me and you, Andy.
Yeah, he makes a good point at the end of that, though, Ryan, at Copious Opium. He says, not every player in the 25 can be an ego-driven superstar. Completely agree with that.
Yeah. The one thing that has always shocked me about Valencia, he can't speak English.
He's
very basic. It seems very ignorant of him. And he's always said that the minute his contract's up at United and he can't get another top club in England, he's going to go back to South America, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
But it smells a bit ignorant in my opinion.
It's not right, is it?
No.
But when he's on the pitch, he does a useful job. I think I'd agree with.
Well, I don't think he's ever going to be a United legend. Don't get me wrong.
No, not at all. I'd agree with the fans on this because 100% said stay on the vote on this one, didn't they? So I'd be inclined to agree with the fans on this. So sell Raphael, keep Valencia. He's a more useful squad player. He can play different roles. So I'd definitely keep. Moving on to centre-back positions, Phil Jones, 50% said stay on this. So this really divided fan opinion. Where do you go?
It depends who we bring in, Andy, if I'm being honest. There's flashes of decent performances within Phil Jones, but I don't think he's long-term. He's going to be there. I don't think Chris Smalling stepped up, and I don't think Jones has got it in him.
All right, let me fire this at you.
Yep.
If we sign one world-class centre-back...
Squad player. And if he's if he's not happy with a squad player role, which I suspect he would not be, because it'll dent his England hopes, then he'd have to go for me.
Okay. I'd agree with stay for now. Maybe only one more season.
It depends on Jones and who comes in, because if we were to go out and sign, say, Otamendi, and then get another centre-back as well, Jones, in my eyes, would be right down the pecking order. And for his England hopes, and obviously the Euros coming up, would he put up with that?
Absolutely, good point. 50% said stay on him. Another centre-back then for you, Nick. We didn't really have a vote on this one. We decided it for you.
Evans.
I know you
he's
enjoy
gotta
this
go.
one. Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, don't think we need to discuss anything further on
let's
that.
move on.
Let's move on. Another player that does divide opinion as well as Phil Jones, Marouane Fellaini. 50% of fans who voted on this one said stay. What are your thoughts on that one?
I'd keep him as a squad player. He's a good person to bring off on the bench, and I don't think he's particularly upset if he does start on the bench. He doesn't seem to pipe up that much about being upset. So I think a squad player role would actually be all right with Fellaini. I don't think he'd mind it too much, but again, it depends on who we bring in. Van Gaal always said he was one of his key players, though, which was worrying.
Well, it is worrying, but I think a lot of the initial thoughts around a lot of the squad being deadwood, that's sort of a disappearing idea now, I think. What I think we're looking at...
Fellaini's proved his worth.
Yeah.
So that's why, for me, he warrants a place in the squad.
Second chances, some third chances have been given, and they've been taken by pretty much all.
He's done some ridiculous things, like the last game of the season. And he deserves his ban for that. I think he's going to do more in the future when we play other teams. That's part of his game. He's very dirty. Likes to throw his elbow out. He likes to shove people. But at the end of the day, if you need a goal and you've got 10, 20 minutes to go and you're not playing very well, you bring the big man on. He might do you a job.
Absolutely. Now you've got Juan Mata as the next player. What were the fans' thoughts on this one?
Well, Craig Mahishi, I think that's how you say it, is said only on the basis of him playing centre attacking midfield, so the number 10 role, which is quite an interesting point. I thought Mata's done brilliantly on the right side of the midfield. He's got 9 goals for last season. He's linked up very well with Herrera. I'd personally keep him 100%. I think he's a starting 11 for us.
Well, every one of the fans that voted on Juan Mata said
I don't
stay.
think he's a squad player. I think he's starting 11.
I think he definitely is for the time being. Yeah. I think we've seen a lot of criticism unnecessarily about Mata. He's a perfectly good player to start week in, week out for me, especially with Di Maria on current form. Depay coming in.
Yeah, Di Maria
might
doesn't
not hit the ground running.
At the moment. But you need to look at Herrera and Mata have had one season together, and they linked up really well. So I'd like to keep that together on the right side of our team, and on the other side of our team have the pacey Depay who'd offer something different.
Now 100% say stay then on Mata. Me and Nick agree with that one. 100% also said stay for Ashley Young. Just a couple of comments on this one. This is a great Twitter handle at LVG's Wonky Nose. Says he threatened to block anyone who said sell. The closest we got to anyone saying that they'd get rid of Ashley Young was at Fan88Football, who said that his performance this season were incredibly overrated. Well, 100% of the fans say that.
I think that's a little bit harsh, if I'm being honest with you.
I think it is as well.
Does he watch the game at Newcastle when Young won us the game?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's been pivotal to us. He's been one of the best players.
Consistent players, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% said stay, though, so I can't disagree with that. We'd keep Ashley Young for the next season.
Yep,
might have upgraded on him with Depay, as we were saying, but, we definitely have to keep him.
He must be worried about his spot now.
He's got to be.
Yeah, which is quite worrying after such a season, but never mind. Anyway, moving on. I've got Di Maria, and 100% of our fans said stay. And I've got another friend again, Copious Opium, said no question here, he stays and gets another shot, which I think I need to
I think that's
with.
fair comment.
Yeah. Obviously, later in the show, we're gonna talk about Di Maria a little bit more, but he does deserve another shot. You can't just judge the man after one season.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. We have to keep him. I think a lot of these players have to stay, to be honest with you. He definitely deserves a second shot. He had, off-field problems.
Yeah, he got his house burgled, didn't he?
Give the guy a chance. Get him back in the team, see what he can do. Yeah. One player returning to United that a lot of people forget about and might actually be on his way, according to some reports already, is Nani. 87.5% of fans said sell.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Obviously, I've said in previous shows that we've had that I'd keep him because you look at what LVG's done with Young. You imagine he can do the same with Nani, and Nani, I think, has got a little bit more ability than Young, but with the players that we've got linked with and we've got coming in, I don't think there's a spot for Nani anymore. He was never consistent in a United shirt. He'd have one unbelievable game, Ronaldo-esque game, and then he'd have 5 stinkers.
Inconsistency was always an issue with Nani, and also the level that he'll play at. He'll probably thrive in Portugal or leagues like that, not for me in the Premier League.
Even a lower mid-table Premier League side, he'd be their star man.
Oh, yeah.
If being honest.
Yeah,
if you look at the Southamptons or the Swanseas...
He's not going to light up the Champions League, though.
Oh, no, not a chance.
So, I think we both agree on that one then. With the 87.5%, we're both selling.
Yeah. Okay. And now we're moving on to one of my favourite players. Obviously, he's getting on a bit now, Mr. RVP. 66% said sell, which I'm a little bit upset about. And Big C75 says he can still do a job if he can come to terms with not being a regular starter. Even if he stays, we need to buy a striker, which I completely agree with.
Yeah.
I think RVP is always the main man, no matter what team he's played for, and I don't think he'd be content with a squad role.
I don't, but I think he's going to have to be, because
if he wants to stay at
Manchester
Manchester United, he needs to. I'd perfectly keep him as a squad player on the bench, coming on, or get the odd game against the lower teams, or throw him in against the big teams for experience. He's still a brilliant footballer. All the problem is we need to keep him fit.
Don't know what your thoughts on this are, Nick, but at C Clay 1978 United says, sell RVP, legs gone.
No.
Do you agree with that?
No, not really.
You think he's still got the legs in him?
He's 32 in August. You need to think the last 2 years we've had 2 transitional seasons. Under Moyes, every player played poorly. Every single player. Last season, he wasn't the best. He was injured, yes, fair enough. I still think he's got a season or 2 in him yet.
Okay. So you're saying stay?
Stay, yeah.
I'd have to agree with that, to be fair. I think we haven't got the options to sell him, for one thing, and I don't think we'll get enough players in, and I don't think we should just be buying 2-3 strikers in a summer anyway. So for us, RVP stays. 66% of you said that you'd sell. Keep your thoughts on that coming in at We Follow United. Last one that we put in this was Hernandez.
Yeah, bye.
The little snake, as you now call him.
Yeah, I'm not happy with him. Goodbye in my eyes. He assumed when he was at Madrid that they were going to pay for him and he was going to stay there, so he started coming out with they're the best club he's played for, they're the best team in the world, blah, 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 blah. He then suddenly realised via probably his agent that they weren't going to pay the fee for him. He was going to come back to United, and suddenly he wants to be given a chance. I've got no place for him. Sell him abroad, in the Premier League, I don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. Real Madrid fanboy. Pack your bags, off you go.
I know whenever he did score goals for us, fair enough, he is a good player, but every goal he used to get came off his shin, back of his head, his sidearm, it never seemed to come off his actual foot.
I wonder if he got hit by the ball in a game, perhaps.
Do you remember
in
the
training.
Stoke game? Stoke away, when he scored the head off the back of his head. He didn't know he scored.
Well, I don't know. I thought that was on purpose, to be fair, but I think in training he's been hit by the ball and he's forgot to play onside. It's completely ruined him.
If you wouldn't have said those comments, I would have been partial to give him a chance, but again, it comes back to the squad role. He's not happy with it. He wants to be the main man, and he isn't good enough.
Well, we both say sell. 100% of the fans said sell as well, so they're clearly not happy with what's been going on there. So that means, as things currently stand, Nick, according to the fans, we get rid of Hernandez and RVP same summer. Now, even if you keep RVP, which we'd like to, that leaves us with Rooney, Van Persie.
No, we get rid of Van Persie.
But if we're keeping him, then at most we've got Van Persie and Rooney. Wilson's probably going on loan.
You need to look at the formation Van Gaal's going to play. You'd imagine he only wants 3 centre forwards because he's only going to play 1. So the days of United needing 4, the Teddy Sheringham's, the Solskjaers, the Cole, the York, I think that's gone now. I think Van Gaal's going to want 3 centre forwards, and he's going to rotate them as he sees fit.
I think we need 4 personally.
Don't get me wrong. I think we do, but I don't think it's Van Gaal's way.
Yeah, I mean the reason I'm mentioning this is, of course, if we get rid of Wilson on loan, just leave ourselves with RVP and Rooney as the main strikers, get rid of Fernandes. That leaves us with 2 strikers, one of which is getting older, a bit injury prone, the other which can be dropped into midfield.
And doesn't score enough.
Yeah. Now, something that was mentioned by Tim Jones to me, he messaged me earlier on Twitter about this, which is a great point. It's come up recently, a bit of speculation about Lukaku. Now, this follows on, of course, from Benteke being linked with us also. Yeah. Now, if we need 4 players, do they, 4 players up front?
I know where you're going with this. We wouldn't challenge for the league with RVP, Rooney, Benteke, and Lukaku as our strikers.
I'm not saying we sign both.
Yeah.
My point is, what if we are in a position where we, sign a star man, the likes of Higuain?
I don't think we'll get him if you've seen the latest comments
I mean,
his,
in terms
president.
of
72 million.
Yes, it's extraordinary. But what I'm saying is, though, if you're looking at someone like Higuain or Benzema, I mean, I'm not convinced on him, someone like that, and then either Benteke or Lukaku.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, would you take either of them?
Benteke, if I'm being honest. I think he's more prolific. Lukaku's very inconsistent, and Lukaku plays in a better team than Benteke.
Okay.
So, yeah, Benteke would be my preference, but I don't really want any of them.
I'd go Lukaku in terms of squad. I mean, you're going to overpay for both of them, so that's where my issue would lie. I would go Lukaku if you were going to go with one of them. He just provides more pace. That'd be it for me. Plus, he's a big presence as well. The only issue I've got with both of them is they're both the sort of target man, lump it in type players.
I don't like Lukaku personally. I've watched him at Everton quite a lot. They paid a huge fee for him. He'd be dearer than Benteke, and I don't think he's good enough. Benteke, look at the last couple of seasons. Benteke's always scored a vast amount of goals. and he's played in a really poor team. So I just think he's the better option. I don't really want any, like I've said, but he will be the better option.
Okay. Let us know your thoughts on that as well on Twitter at WeFollowUnited. Would you take either Benteke or Lukaku, whether as a squad player or as a first option? Do let us know. Next up, we've got Mark coming on from the United stand. So last Sunday, Nick and I went to the Legends game. We were invited along by the United stand. All the United stand were there. We had Mark, Anna, Alex, Martin, David flew over from Ireland, and also Wayne and his wife were there, the competition winners. And of course Kev, yeah, absolutely. So they invited us down very kindly, and we had a great day out. United Legends won 4-2 against the Bayern Munich All-Stars, in case you didn't see it. And we've got Mark on the line just to have a quick chat through some of the latest chat going on. Mark, good evening.
Evening, lads. How you doing?
Very well. All good? Are you good?
Yeah, not too bad. I've just about recovered from Sunday now.
Yeah, of course. You came up for the day. Did you have a good day at Old Trafford?
Yeah, a good day, and then that continued into a good night. But we did spend a few hours around Old Trafford. Was it the Bishop's Blaze? That's where we were. We had a good lap in there.
Excellent. Good. Yeah, it was a really good day out. It's great to finally meet you all in person. Now, Mark, earlier this week we saw your show, of course, on the Wednesday when the fixture list was released. Now, I've seen fans saying it's a tough start for us, which it is comparable against perhaps last season. It was always going to be tough anyway. But when I was looking at this, we've only lost against 2 of the first 10 teams we've played against when we last played them. So for me, there's plenty of winnable games in there. I don't know what your thoughts are on the fixture list.
Well, I mean, I'd completely missed that we were going to be at home because Man City, I think they're reducing their capacity, aren't they? Not increasing it. So we get to be at home. So I was ecstatic with it. I mean, great to be at home anyway first. I think we've got to win that and not make the mistake we did against Swansea last year. Yeah, but also, like you, I was pleased that we have a few tough games in there because last year, 15 points we had easily up for grabs, and we took 5 against teams that we really should have been beating, and then we're up against it. So this is going to force us to hit the ground running and hopefully make some signings. Yeah,
absolutely. We need to get the players in early for sure. I mean, the toughest run I can see when I've gone through the list is during October we play Arsenal and Everton away, and then we've got City at home in the space of sort of 3-4 weeks. During an international break, I believe, as well.
What's worrying about that, though? That's right near the Champions League games. If we do qualify, some really tough games in the week.
Absolutely. I mean, do you think, Mark, that's a defining stage of the season as early as October?
I mean, it's all pie in the sky, isn't it, if we don't have a good start? But I said on the show, and I think we need at least 11 points from the first 15. And I think if we get that, it sets us up for the rest of the season. But like you say, those 3 or 4 games, there will be a real test, but we did well against the higher teams last year, and if we go into that in a good position, then if we come out of that with a few more points, I really think we've got to be going for the title next year, and I think we spoke about it on the last time I was on. 4th isn't good enough, so I think I'm really excited about it because I think from the off we're going to be looking at Louis van Gaal and seeing if he has made these changes and got his philosophy in, because we've got to hit the ground running, and I expect by those games for us to know where we're going to be going with our season.
Well, one of the other points I wanted to ask you about, Mark, was obviously we've just said then that we've got a bit of a tough start. Do you not think our rivals City, Chelsea maybe have a tough start, and if they do drop points early on, it'll be a bit of an incentive for us to push on?
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't mention Liverpool as our rivals, because we know they've got a tough start. But
no, not anymore.
Man City Chelsea second game of the season. I was on about that to somebody at work today, actually. I didn't think that Sky really allowed that sort of thing to happen, and I think it's a shame in a way, as somebody who enjoys watching football.
It does seem a waste, yeah.
Because it'll just be gone and we'll forget about it. But from a United selfish point of view, like you said, spot on, it means that they're both going to they're going to drop points, aren't they? One of them at least. So.
Yeah, exactly. So it does give us a bit of an incentive there. And obviously, last season we were better against the so-called bigger teams, like we've mentioned. Playing the likes of Tottenham, Liverpool, Man City, leaders could actually help us this year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Liverpool at home, I think, is the 5th game. We've got to be looking to win that. Tottenham at home, we've got to look to win that. That's 6 points. I actually think the Villa and Swansea games will be very interesting because, as we know from last season, we struggled in the away games against those sort of teams. So as much as people will pick out Spurs and Liverpool as tough games, they're the ones I'm already thinking that's when we're going to know whether Man United have improved or not.
Yeah, well, the Villa game especially under Sherwood, Villa really improved, and they've just recently signed Mika Richards, who obviously will have a point to prove this season that he's still good enough in the top
I
flight.
can't believe he's gone to Villa, to be honest with you. I would have thought teams higher up had been sniffing round him knowing he was coming back to the Premier League.
I'm not entirely sure, he couldn't get in the Fiorentina squad by the end of it, so...
I mean, tweeted out, didn't he?
Yeah, potentially wasted, I think, is possibly the key with Richards. But who knows? As Nick said, he'll certainly have a point to prove. And also, as you mentioned there, Swansea away. Gary Monk has done wonders with Swansea.
Oh, he's brilliant.
I mean, they've always played good football, but like you say, Mark, I think they're going to be really difficult games. I mean, moving on, Mark, let's talk some transfers. The rumour mill obviously is never ending in churning out plenty of names. One of which recently really had me interested in terms of attacking talent. Carlos Tevez, I saw pop up the other day. Now, I know you ran a Twitter poll earlier this week, which I believe suggested nearly 60% of fans would take Tevez back. Now, am I going mental, Mark? Or is that the most ridiculous thing I've heard in some time?
Oh, it's unbelievable. And it wasn't even like it was 10 or 20 people. I mean, we were in the hundreds here. And to have 60% of people, supposed United fans saying that they would want him, and he literally had about 500. We had about nearly 1,000 people on the poll, and like I said, must have been about 500 people who voted to keep him. Ridiculous.
It's an insane figure.
But if you're a real United fan, you know what he's done afterwards. We don't need to repeat it on here. And
yeah.
He cannot come back. I mean, maybe he wanted to stay at the time, but you don't throw your teddy out of the pram like that and abuse the fans and our greatest manager ever. I mean, he cannot come back.
And the whole city with that poster campaign as well. I mean, it might as well rename ourselves Mercenaries FC if we get Tevez back, to be honest with you. I couldn't believe it. But there you go, Carlos Tevez, one of the recent names battered around there. Now, Nick, you wanted to give a mention to, of course, the loss of one of our attacking talents, which has led to this.
Oh yeah, obviously, Falcao. We've heard that he must be going to Chelsea. I don't think it's been confirmed yet, but there's rumours all over Twitter. How do you feel about that, Mark? Do you feel like we've lost a player there, or do you feel like we can move on from it?
Well, I actually watched Colombia play Brazil last night. I mean, there's a lot of interest in United to be watching the Copa America, and the same performance, same as what you've seen in a United shirt. Colombia, very, very good team, actually probably better than United as an attacking side. But he didn't shine again. There's a bit of a 50-50 split on this. I think he'll score goals for Chelsea because I think you look at Falcao in a United shirt, it's not like he's been missing gifted opportunities. We didn't give him or Robin van Persie those chances, so I think he'll score them.
No.
But I don't think he's the player he was 2 or 3 years ago. And I'm sure come September time, Chelsea fans will be going, "Oh, look at what we've got." But I think over a season, he just doesn't have it anymore. He will score goals. It'll be the old Welbeck thing, but look what had happened to him.
Well, one of the things I do like that I read about him, apparently he does want to prove himself in the Premier League, and he believes that he's not finished yet. And he's actually halved his wages to go to Chelsea, so a bit of ambition.
Oh, what
there.
A guy! What a nice guy. That must be what, only 150, 200k?
130.
130. Oh, how nice of him. But I mean, it's a strange one. It's going to be strange seeing Falcao lined up in blue next season, isn't it? Because I mean, as far as we're right, he's agreed personal terms, so he's all but on his way. Barring a medical, if Chelsea do a better one than we did, maybe he won't go. But Mark, I mean, in Tevez and Falcao, we've obviously got players there that United have chosen to avoid, continuing with for one reason or plenty. I mean, if you could pick one player going forward that we've been linked with this summer so far that you'd want to avoid signing, who would it be and why?
Benteke. I've been quite consistent about it. I mean, I'm based in the Midlands, so I've seen him live quite a few times. I said it. I'll repeat the joke so it's on yours as well. But basically, I think Benteke reminds me of your wife on a night out when she dolls herself up. Obviously, she looks great, but you judge your wife on a Monday or on a Monday night when she's eating a chocolate in a tracksuit with no makeup and watching EastEnders.
I'll tell you what, I hope my girlfriend doesn't judge me on a Monday morning. Good God.
Benteke for me just isn't. He's not a United player, and it would concern me if we got rid of. I love Robin van Persie. I think there's a few knife-edge decisions that Louis van Gaal could make. Falcao could come back and bite him. Robin van Persie, I think, will. and Benteke would be a big mistake.
Well, he's come out recently, Robin, and said he's comfortable on his future. He's not losing any sleep over it, and he just doesn't want to leave, and he's got a point to prove as well. So I think there's still some fuel left in them legs yet.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that he's been sort of cool on it from the word that's come out anyway, saying I've got a year left on my contract, so why is everyone worried about it?
Well, we've mentioned we don't want Benteke or Lukaku.
Yeah, we were just having a chat about this just before you came on there, Mark, and we were saying, well, I mean, Nick says he won't want either, and I'm inclined to agree with him, but my only concern is this: Hernandez is almost likely on his way out, and I just made the point that that's going to leave us with RVP and Rooney really, because Wilson possibly is going out on loan. So I was saying, even if we sign a star man, I'd still think we'd need someone in there that could do a job as a sort of squad player, if you like, as a fourth option.
James Wilson.
If he goes on loan, though, is what I'm saying. I mean, that would be my only thing, because they're both young, they've both got their talents, but we were just mentioning there the only issue would be hugely overpriced, which is why, when we sort of mentioned it last week, I can't understand why we didn't go in for Danny Ings.
For Lukaku?
28, something in that region.
Insane.
I mean, it's daft money, it really is. Well, Mark, it's been a real pleasure having you on again. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for inviting us down to the Legends game as well, as I say. Just remind people where they can find you on various social media platforms.
Yeah, with the United Stand on YouTube, and we're at United Stand MUFC on Twitter. They're our main two. We do have a website as well, which is unitedstand.com.
Excellent. Do give them a like there. Do follow them. Do subscribe. Regular content throughout the summer. I know you're keeping your Thursday and Sunday shows. Is that right?
Yeah, Thursday and Sunday at 9 o'clock. It's just transfer stuff. There's so much of it.
What else is there?
You could go every day, couldn't you? But
Absolutely. Well, Mark, it's been a pleasure having you on again, and we'll look forward to speaking to you soon.
Yeah, thanks a lot, mate.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for having me on. Good luck. Bye.
Thanks.
See you later. Bye-bye.
And that game show melody can only mean one thing. It's time for the shootout. And that means one thing. We welcome back producer Joe.
Hello.
Joe, how are you?
Not too bad.
How are we?
Too bad.
You good?
Yeah.
You look really chilled out tonight.
I know. I was just in that mood tonight. Yeah.
Boogieing behind the
How are
screen.
you, Nick?
I'm alright.
Nobody's asked you yet.
I'm a little tired.
That's all right.
But I'm alright.
Well, there you go. Finish the chit chat?
I think so.
Yeah.
Now it's
good.
time for the shootout.
Yep. How many questions have you got for us this week then, Joe?
Well, I believe I've got one for Nick.
Right.
Again. Another one for Nick.
Right, okay.
One for Andy, and then another one for Andy. So 4.
He's getting there.
I did it on my own this
He
week.
gets
He's done his
better.
homework this week.
He gets better.
Mental arithmetic, Joseph.
All right.
Carry on.
So, yeah, I believe the first one you've got is for Nick. So, whenever you're ready, if you want to fire away.
So, Daniel Levy is highly unlikely to sell both Lloris and Kane. But who would you rather have?
I think I'd go for Kane. I've mentioned in previous shows, I've been ranting about it over Twitter. We don't score enough goals. Wayne Rooney scoring 12 goals in our league. It was our top goal scorer. It's appalling for Manchester United. I think there's keepers out there that can replace De Gea should he leave, although Lloris would be my number one choice. I don't think we'll get both. But just solely based on the fact we need goals, I would go for Harry Kane. Obviously not proven, he's only done it one season. But look, we took a risk on Rooney. We could do it with Kane.
Ooh, and in time.
And in time, well done.
I've just got a ding over me.
Yep, no problem.
There you go. Spot. So you'd rather have Kane?
Yeah, definitely.
But then who's our keeper option if De Gea isn't leaving? He's leaving.
Well, All Black would then be my number one choice. If we couldn't get Lloris and Kane, then All Black would become my number one goalkeeping target should De Gea leave, which is obviously 99% confirmed.
It is a really difficult one because not only do you can't see Levy selling both of them, but also the price tag that you'd want for both of them would be ridiculous. I just think you need to look in the transfer market at the moment. There's not a lot of strikers out there. And I know 40 million, 45 million for Kane is really overpriced, but say we were to offer 35 million plus Javier Hernandez, would they not be tempted?
I'd like to see Kane in a Tottenham shirt for another year.
I wouldn't. I'd like to sign Kane and him score the winner against him on the opening day of the season.
Do you not think if Kane went and proved himself and did it again next season, he's only going to be valued at the same amount again?
Yeah, you can't.
It's not going to go up that much, surely.
50 million.
from 40.
I think we need a goal scorer, and we've talked about Higuain suddenly been valued at 72 million by his president.
I mean, that's incredible.
So we're not going to get him. Apparently Benzema doesn't want to come, so we're not going to get
Lacazette's on his way to PSG.
Lacazette to PSG. So the only really proven goal scorer out there we both don't want, Cavani.
We're not having Cavani.
So who else really can we go for? Obviously, we've been with
I really like Harry Kane.
Is Kane a risk?
Of course
it's a risk, but we need to take it. We need to score goals.
Falcao, and we've signed him.
Well, he will have sell-on value, though. That's the point. If we sign him, and
he's still a kid.
Yeah, he's 21, so it's worth the risk. But look, we took a risk with Rooney, and he's now our club captain.
Yeah, that worked out well. I know. Obviously, you've got your issues with him, but
but
you can't argue. You can't argue with what he's done throughout the time with us. And
he's been potentially one of the best United players ever.
We got him as a kid on the back of basically a goal against Arsenal and a few other decent performances for Everton.
Yeah, so you need to think 40 million, 45 million is a lot of money.
But there's a lot of aggression and passion
15 years
Rooney,
out of him,
whereas Kane's a bit more chilled out, more relaxed.
Is that not a good thing? Mature at that age to be a mature, well-rounded sort of striker.
Has he peaked at 21?
I'd like to think he's not.
I think he'd be the first person that's peaked at 21 if he has.
We need a goal scorer, and there's not a lot of them about. Whereas there's a lot of decent keepers about in Europe at the moment.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from on that. I've no issue with that, and I think, like you say, with the lack of options out there, Harry Kane has to be up there.
If De Gea is going to leave, which is looking likely, then Lloris would be my number one choice.
Yeah,
he's a brilliant goalkeeper, but are we going to get both realistically?
No.
So
can't see it.
Yeah. So we need to choose.
There you go.
So Andy, the next question is for you.
Okay.
Should United be in the market for a striker?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. I've seen people saying recently that we can wait another season, but for me, I think you'd be crazy to wait another season. And here's one reason why in particular. Guess which player out of United's team had the highest shot conversion last season? That would be Juan Mata. Second, you're wrong, that would be Chris Smalling. Third place, Michael Carrick. Now, our best striker, supposedly, Wayne Rooney, fifth highest in the squad in terms of shot conversion. It's terrible. Yes, they can do a job, but we need more.
Well, you know my issues with Rooney.
Chris Smalling's had a great
season.
Everyone who listens to my show knows my issues with Rooney. It's been a long-standing thing with him. I don't think we'll win the league with him as our main striker. And what's worrying for me is just going through those sort of stats on conversion in terms of...
You need to think the amount of shots they have, though. Chris Smalling's going to have a lot less shots than Wayne Rooney.
Right, okay, fair enough on the Chris Smalling one, but Juan Mata, as we mentioned earlier in the show, scored 9. 3 less than Rooney, right?
Yeah, I think this is the first year we've seen Mata do what he can do.
Mata was brilliant this season.
He was. He had a 36% shot conversion. Now, Wayne Rooney had 22%. It's huge.
Oh yeah, definitely. Don't get me wrong. We obviously need a new striker. We scored 20 goals less than City.
Because bear in mind as well, Rooney did play in midfield as well for part of the season,
but he wasn't as high up in the pitch as Mata.
He only scored 12 league goals. I think that's the lowest since 1982 or 83.
Yeah,
one of them.
We saw Rooney as almost a holding midfielder
in parts. Yeah,
I think we
always...
created less chances in relegated QPR. So you need to put that into perspective. We're not creating enough, and we've not got the goal scorers to finish it. If you look at those conversion rates.
No, we absolutely should be in the market. When I saw these comments sort of flashing up saying that we can survive another season, I really don't think we can. If you're thinking that we can be left with Rooney, Van Persie, and possibly Wilson if we keep him, I think you're in a world of hurt if you think we're going to be competing for trophies, especially on the European stage again. I'd be worried.
Oh yeah, we're not going to win the Champions League with that team.
Not going to get near it.
No,
we might not even get through the qualifier.
You look at
with
Barcelona's front three compared to ours.
Absolutely, yeah. that would be a huge concern for me.
Nick, next question's for you.
Yeah.
So it's been circulating that Pogba could return to Old Trafford in exchange for Di Maria. Would you swap Di Maria for Pogba?
This is a really tough question. I'd be inclined to say yeah. You look at the amount of teams that are after Pogba, the Real Madrids, Barcelonas, the Manchester Cities, the PSGs. These are really big teams in Europe now that want him, so there's a reason they want him. We've had midfield issues for years. It's not been addressed since Scholesy left. It highlighted in the Legends game, Scholesy could probably still walk into our midfield as it is, which is appalling. So I think I probably would, because we've got Depay that's coming now. He's potentially going to play on the wing. We might not have space for Di Maria.
Ooh. Interesting.
I don't like to say it. I'd keep him if I had the choice. I'd rather just go out and buy Pogba. But like you said,
there's got to be some sort of law when you've got people like Barcelona coming in for him. And
this is what annoys me, right? Barcelona have a transfer embargo. That means they shouldn't be able to negotiate any deals. They just signed Alexi Vidal from Seville. He's going to be registered in January.
So here's the deal on this. They're allowed to sign players, but they're not allowed to play them until January.
Yeah, so all he's going to do is go out on loan back to Seville for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then come January, just register with Barcelona. So it isn't hampering him much.
Oh,
transfer
no,
embargo needs to be enforced.
It's a farce of an embargo,
so they
absolutely.
can't negotiate, they can't agree a fee, they can't agree to register a player in January. It needs to be, you're banned, you can't negotiate any player deals. That's a transfer embargo.
Yeah, should be 100%. But yeah, Barcelona still miraculously would be able to sign Pogba. It's incredible. But when you've got players like that still around to sort of, with that sort of power to sign players, you've got to be worried there. So that's why Di Maria has been sort of thrown into it, because the Juventus president really likes Di Maria.
I don't want to get rid of Angel, but if our midfield is not good enough, well, every time Carrick leaves, we're relying on players like Fellaini, Blind, who I like him, he's a good player, but he's not top notch. And I think
good left back.
Well, he can play anywhere, Blind, can't he?
What's your thoughts, Joe? Whilst we've got you on this, the Pogba Di Maria swap.
See, I liked Pogba when he was here, but it did wind me up with the arrogance of a young player. I mean, there was a reason he was on his own under Sir Alex, but now he's gone. Could we bring him back and make him work again? He's good talent. You can't argue with.
Well,
with
you
the
just
talent.
mentioned something else that we need to take into consideration. Angel's 27, Pogba's 22. So there's a lot more selling value there. So if we do get Pogba and he doesn't do a job for us, we can still sell him back to Real Madrid or Barca for 60 million. In 2 years' time.
I still feel like it'd be the wrong time to sell Di Maria, though. It's not.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't want to get rid of him. I'd rather just go out and buy him.
Yeah,
if we are,
that's not strengthening
I don't
your
want
squad.
Pogba.
That's not in any way strengthening us. That's taking a hit to get potentially a better player, but it might not work for our squad.
Well, I don't want him personally. I think he's overpriced. But if he was one of Van Gaal's targets, I'd respect that, and I'd want him to come to the club. But I just don't think he's worth 60, 70 million pounds. Like we saw him in the Champions League final, he's very raw.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, he's very physical, but technically he's not at the top level.
Technically,
for me.
he's not nowhere near.
Not on a consistent basis, at least.
He relies so much on his physical attributes, which help him so much. Which obviously, at his age and his build, it's going to help him. But in terms of actually, technical ability, I don't think he's up there. Scholesy would still run rings around him, so I don't want him for that sense.
Okay,
moving on. Andy, you've touched on this in our first link. Should United meet the 35 million release clause for Otamendi?
It's rare that I'll say this, so do take note at the time, but yes, absolutely we should. Now, it's been made clear enough that that's the price, and there aren't many high-caliber defenders out there at the moment in world football, so you can't risk losing him. Now, if we mess around with this sort of pretend negotiations, making it seem like we're playing hardball, I'm telling you right now, Real Madrid will swoop in, they'll steal that player, and we desperately need him. There's so few options, so absolutely for me, meet it, get him signed with Woodward.
Yeah, I was nodding at Andy then throughout the
entire
30 seconds, and if he would have said no, I'd be very
probably
upset.
have whiplash after that one.
Yeah, 35 million in today's market is brilliant value in my eyes.
Would you say that for a defender though? 35 million to.
In today's market, Raheem Sterling's going for 45 million. That's apparently what Liverpool will settle for. So, yeah.
It's an overinflated market, and as I just mentioned...
We said this, we mentioned it last week, United started it. We're the triggers of this.
Yeah, we are, yep. But,
so it's our fault, so we should be paying it.
Well, it's Real Madrid, Florentino Perez and the Madrid Mafia's fault.
But everyone else is going to pay it. The thing is, like I've just mentioned to you, there's not a lot of good... Well, when I say good, there's not a lot of world-class centre-backs out there at the moment.
You compared him on Squawka, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And if you look at his stats, if you give it a run through, interceptions, clearances,
who did you compare him
tackles, with? John Terry.
And he was voted like the best central defender in the Premier League.
Supposedly the best that we have to offer still, which is a sad state of affairs in itself.
Was insanely good.
Yeah, Otamendi, when you compare the two, have a look through it on Squawka.
He had a good season, John Terry, so we can't argue with it.
I'm not going to argue with that at all, but when a player of that age is the best that we have to offer in supposedly the best league in the world...
I'm going to go off the boil again a bit. We talked about it brief last week.
You're not going Christoph Samba, are you?
Not that far off the boil. Give me a break. Toby Alderweireld.
Yeah.
Chelsea, apparently, there's an update on him. Apparently in for him now. We mentioned him last week. Why are we not in for him? Yeah,
the question continues. That is a question.
We could get, loan out Blackett.
I'd love to know the answer to that.
Sell Evans, possibly loan out McNair. Bring in Alderweireld and bring in Otamendi.
I think it's insane not looking at him because Atletico want to get rid.
I don't understand it yet. Atletico want to sell. They don't want the player anymore. He's
I don't know why they don't want him.
He was
It's
in
another
the
thing,
second best defence in the Premier League last season.
Yep.
But another one I wanted to ask you about as well. Rumours that I saw, Marc Bartra from Barcelona. He's available for 12 million euros, that is.
Yeah.
Would you have him? Is he better than Johnny Evans?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, this is what you've got to ask yourself at the end of it all.
We need squad depth.
Are the players that we're signing going to improve what we've currently got?
Yeah.
And pretty much anyone in the world right now is going to improve on Johnny Evans.
Well, if it's a bit cruel, but yeah, you know how we feel about it. If you were to loan out Blackett, McNair, sell Evans, we would have Jones and Smalling as our centre halves.
Rojo available as well.
Rojo you played at left back as well, but yeah, Rocco as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to bring in, say Otamendi and even Marc Bartra, or Otamendi and Alderweireld.
I think it needs to be Otamendi and another, definitely.
Otamendi and Alderweireld would be my personal option.
That'd be brilliant.
And I don't understand.
There is Richard Dunn out there.
There is. Richard Dunn would improve.
I don't think we
squad.
could afford his wages.
Yeah, true, very true.
He likes his Gregs.
Now, Joe, of course, it can't be a shootout without 5, as we well know.
I was waiting for you to get it in there.
Absolutely. I've not used it yet this week, so I've got to get it in somewhere.
So cheesy.
Absolutely. But so does the game show music. The whole section is, if we're honest with you. It's loaded with cheese. Last question is for you, Joe. And also we're going to put it out to the fans on Twitter as well. In terms of the options that we have available on both wings, we were discussing this earlier, that we're going to have an influx of them. There's still linked players. If you right now had to pick the right wing and left wing in terms of playing in the 3, out of the current options, which 2 would you start with?
So on the left wing, it's tough. You'd have to say that Depay, I'm a massive fan. Don't know why. Just feeling like he could be the next potential big thing at United. On the right, I'll touch on that. Although I would like to see Mata in the number 10 role, I feel like it'd be better to have him on the right. So Depay on the left, Mata on the right. You can't argue with it, and Young to kind of mentor Depay into that role.
Okay, interesting thoughts. And Di Maria then doesn't make it.
To an extent. I don't think Di Maria deserves a starting spot.
He doesn't warrant it.
No, he has to earn it back.
I would like to see Di Maria in a central role anyway.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen him running with the ball. So,
well, how about midfield of Herrera, Schneiderlin and Di Maria? Midfield 3.
I wouldn't put him that far back.
It's weak.
Really?
I feel like Di Maria would go missing in that position that far back. I feel
he played on the left hand side of a 3 midfield for Madrid in the year they won the Champions League.
Did it for us earlier in the season.
Yeah, I as long as he had a solid someone like Schneiderlin in there, I'd be more than happy to play him.
When I say weak, I mean lightweight. Him and Herrera as 2-3 in midfield. Do you imagine that against sort of like Matic?
Barcelona won the treble with Xavi, Iniesta and Busquets, and they're not exactly the meatiest.
They're not, but they can throw in a challenge. Di Maria can't throw in a challenge.
I don't know. You'd have to improve that possibly. But
so you're saying Depay and Mata would be your starting?
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I can't really see any flaws with that.
Mata has to stay.
I mean, you've got to see if Young still has that. I mean, we'll see in pre-season maybe. If
I was going to say, does Young get automatically thrown out in this then because of the big signing?
I feel like he shouldn't because of last year's form. If he carries on that form,
first day of the season, I'd probably start Young and bring Depay on.
Yeah, it's too much pressure to start a youngster on in the biggest game.
I don't think the pressure would affect Depay. If I don't seen recently, he's been
pictured
with Chris Brown's ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, well, he is a rapster, isn't he himself? So.
I don't think the pressure's going to bother him too much.
He definitely seems to have a lot of confidence about him, that's for sure. And I think he'll do a brilliant job at Old Trafford. But I think it's a big game against Tottenham. Early doors coming into a new team, it can be a big
Young
thing.
Has to start.
Even for the confidence, it might still prove too much.
Confidence for Young as well. We've signed a big money winger, and Van Haalder says no. Ashley, you're starting. It'll fill Young up with confidence.
Absolutely, yeah, fair enough. So that's the question then that's gone to Joe, and we're also going to fire that out on Twitter over the weekend. If you could choose the 2 wingers of the 3 to play with, which 2 of the current options would you go for? Let us know at We Follow United. And next up, the biggest question of all: what's going on in the mind of Dodgy Dave? We'll find out next.
Dat je hiervan houdt, wat ik doe dat is nieuw, dat van hen was al oud. Niet alleen aan de lucht, beloof plechtig. Als jullie class hebben ben ik deftig of niet bof. Oftewel het neusje van de zalm, ik heb dit van God, zegt die hater.
We are absolutely bouncing in the studio tonight. That was Memphis Depay rapping, can you believe? I don't know where we found that.
No idea what he's saying, but he sounded good.
Yeah. fair play, well done. Now we've got our very own baller on the line right now. It's Dodgy Dave time. Dave, hello.
Hello.
There he is, he's back. So, Dave, there's only one way I want to start this, and Nick's not looking forward to this at all.
Can we skip this bit?
No, we cannot skip this bit. Right, so as far as I'm aware, what's happened is this week, with no football going on in the summer for you, Dave, you thought it'd be a good idea to put a five-a-side team together with some of the guys locally, and you played your first game last night, I believe. Now, I unfortunately was not able to be in attendance. I wish I had been. Can we get an update on the team? I believe are called Hangover 96. Great name, by the way. But how did you get on?
Play on Hanover, yeah.
Yeah.
We got on. We did okay. Lost.
I thought you were reasonable, Dave.
Well, yeah. I mean, considering they were bottom of the league already, played 2, conceded something like 30, scored 6. We obviously helped them out with their goal difference situation by losing 9-5.
That's good of you.
Something like that.
9-5, yeah.
So yeah, just doing a bit of charity.
Well done.
It sets us in good stead for the rest of the season. Really, I can see us taking an absolute hammering over the next few weeks.
We have to build fitness levels up.
Oh, fitness is utterly atrocious.
That's worrying because you've been playing 11-a-side all sort of season.
I know Dave wasn't the problem.
Oh right, it wasn't Dave that was the issue.
I mean, I was okay. I was tired, but yeah, I think Nick looked like he was just sweating before we'd even kicked the ball.
I look slightly jaded.
Off, yeah.
I will admit. I have come back from 10 days in Tenerife where I was drunk most nights.
Yeah. Playing your violin and you're sad.
My issue is I need to do a couple of stretches, a few lunges before I tie my shoelaces to go out to work in the morning. That's my issue at the moment. So I'm a little bit further away than that at the moment.
Even the mention of exercise gets Nick in a sweat. He's like Andy Cole used to be.
To be fair, I'm panting at the mere thought of it, to be honest with you.
I know.
Let's move swiftly on to some real talent then. Now, of course, Dave, we know that some of the time that you're an Arsenal fan. Now, there's been some news recently developing on Czech, of course, supposedly coming to Arsenal. I believe you're selling Ospina. That's supposedly been agreed now.
Is it Galatasaray or Fenerbahce?
Yeah, he's off to Galatasaray.
Wow.
So says...
I knew that being
news to Dave.
Fan, so.
Yeah, obviously you knew that already. Edit that out, Joe. But obviously, yeah, of course you knew. Now, Czech supposedly wants to live in London still. He's got family there, etc. So Arsenal seems like a good link. Now, there's been reports this week that in return, Mourinho wants something back from him. We're talking either Oxlade-Chamberlain or possibly
we
Walcott.
know how much you love the Ox, Andy.
I love Oxlade-Chamberlain. I really do. I really rate him. Dave, in terms of getting hold of Czech, would you, in return, swap either Oxlade-Chamberlain or Walcott? Would you swap either two to get Czech?
Potentially Walcott. I'd never get rid of the Ox, though.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you're sticking by Ox.
I'd agree with that.
I'd say he's probably the best young English midfielder out there.
I don't want to see Ox wasted at Chelsea. He would be wasted there.
Yeah, he definitely
He'd
would
be wasted, yeah. I mean, well, I don't know where they play him, so...
Yeah, because they play, obviously, the 4-2-3-1, but you've got, obviously, Cuadrado, Willian, Oscar, who might be on his way, but you can't really...
He's supposed to be going to Juve, isn't he?
Yeah, but then, you've obviously got Hazard, and then if you're talking about playing him up front, you've got Diego Costa, Loic Remy, Falcao. I don't see where he fits.
No. You've got Loftus-Cheek coming through, hasn't he? The guy with the surname of a medical condition. He'll be coming through. He'll be breaking into the first team soon. So
he looks a good player, to be fair.
He does look decent, yeah. So
I'd sack Walcott off, though. He could go for Czech.
Yeah, definitely. But, I mean, do you think the goalkeeping situation's a big deal for Arsenal?
It has been since we lost Seaman.
Right, okay. Because I quite like Ospina. I'm surprised you're getting rid of him.
I think Ospina's been decent, yeah.
I think he's a good backup.
Yeah, Szczesny's obviously a massive liability. But, yeah, I mean, when United, you got him Van der Sar, and he was, about 43 when he signed for you?
about 33, Dave.
In the ballpark,
yeah. He carried on going for a good 7 years, didn't he, at that age?
Oh, you can get plenty of time out of Czech, without a doubt. Yeah, absolutely. Dave, let's talk about something that me and Nick have mentioned throughout the show. We've been talking about players that are severely overrated, really. We wanted to get your input on this. we wanted you to come up with 5 of the most overrated players in world football at the moment, excluding those at United. In other words, 5 overrated players we should avoid. Yeah, it'd been Di Maria.
Falcao. Oh, he's left.
Oh, he's left.
Falcao,
Di Maria. So not currently at United. Have you got 5?
Well, as we were saying before, I've done a lot of thought at this matter.
I know you always do.
I put a good solid 30 seconds thought into this. So these are going to come off the top of my head. Yeah. Number 1, Falcao.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I'd agree.
Number 2.
That 30 seconds played out well, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all I could think of was Falcao. Does David Trezeguet still play?
No,
Dave. He's nearly 40.
Would you put Pogba in that list?
Pogba? Nah, Pogba looks all right.
So you wouldn't say he's overrated?
Edison Cavani?
Guy who plays for Barcelona.
Which guy for Barcelona?
Pedro.
Okay, it's
He
interesting.
doesn't really seem to do anything.
I think
just
he's just
thinking
a squad
of names
player,
there.
really. But...
Generic name.
But Dave thinks Pedro is overrated.
Never watching him.
Yeah, well, there you go. Sterling, is he overrated? Raheem Sterling?
Sterling's massively overrated. He's a worse version of Theo Walcott.
Would you put him in the 5?
And he's useless. Huh?
Would you put him in your 5?
Yeah, he'd be number 2.
What about Lionel Messi, Dave?
Nah, if anything, he's underrated.
He's underrated.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Nick mentioned Edison Cavani. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's useless. He's got a face like one of those statues on Easter Island, and that's about all he's got going for him, really. He's terrible at football.
Okay, so there's 4 we've managed to put together. Can we scrape you a 5th?
I don't know. I don't know how Nick would feel about this, but I'd say probably either Lee Cattermole or Andrea Iniesta.
I'm not even going to speak to you, Dave.
Oh, there you go.
I took my 2 favourite midfielders, and you've just insulted me.
Pretty much, yeah.
So from what I gathered there,
cut you deep.
Falcao, Sterling was in there at number 2, Pedro, Cavani, and one of Lee Cattermole.
What about Balotelli?
Yeah, Balotelli, definitely.
All right, you're going to Balotelli at number 5 instead of Lee Cattermole or
yes.
Iniesta?
Is he even rated that highly? Does everyone just think he's a bit of a joke?
He's allowed 1 sub, says producer Joe. We'll put Balotelli as sub, just to upset Nick a bit. We'll keep.
Yeah.
I don't know why Iniesta's overrated in Dave's mind, but there you go.
Iniesta's probably the best midfielder of the last 10 years.
Dave, let's.
Sorry to round Nick up. So...
Absolutely. Let's end this segment then with the way we always do. Let's hear your story of the week.
Story of the week. Finished work on Friday. Obviously started to rain just as I got out of the place, which was brilliant after being sunny all week. Went round to Crazy Pedro's in Manchester and sat there looking into the second slice of my ham and pineapple pizza because obviously I was on holiday. So then looked over to the right hand side and saw about 400 naked people on bicycles all riding past. So that was a bit eventful. A lot of nudity, a lot of old people nudity, a lot of testicles almost getting caught in the chain of the bike. So that's about it, really.
Cheers, Dave.
Let's wrap up the show with the usual dedicated transfer talk then. And we've been talking a lot about Otamendi tonight as the main transfer target at centre-back. But Nick, we're going to go on a different angle of approach on this one because there's been some other names linked to us recently. Jerome Boateng of Bayern Munich, the latest in a long line of players that have been linked with us. What are your thoughts on Jerome Boateng coming to United?
Yeah, we seem to be the players we're linking now. It's turned into a bit of a cast of the 300. Feels like the Spartans. But we're linked with him. It was tweeted by quite a reliable Di Mazzario, I think it is, on Twitter. People
absolutely
saying
right.
that he's quite reliable, so I'll believe them. I'd take him. I've seen a lot of negativity around that rumour. People saying, he got ripped by Messi. It's like, this is Lionel Messi.
Yeah,
he's not going to be playing against Lionel Messi every week. He's going to be playing against Ricky Lambert.
Well, my thing with Jerome Boateng is he didn't work out the first time he came to the Premier League.
That was he was a kid though. Then
I know. Obviously, he was younger, but he was in a growing, developing, very good City team, surrounded by some very able players at the back.
I know, but you've answered your own question. He was in a very good City team. It's hard to get into. I think he's come on leaps and bounds. He's a World Cup winner. He's versatile. He can play at right back. He can play at centre half. He's still young. He's 26. He's got the right physique for the Premier League. I'd personally take him. Bearing on price, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't pay an astronomical fee for him. I think 25 million is a reasonable price.
It's worth considering, especially if we do miss out on Otamendi. Of course, Real Madrid are now sort of linked, as we mentioned, in coming in swooping for him. Now, if Jerome Boateng wasn't the answer, if Otamendi goes to Real Madrid, Varane, is there a possibility we get him as part of a deal with De Gea?
Oh, I definitely have Varane. I think every United fan would take Varane. We saw how he performed in the Champions League. He's very young still. He's internationally capped, experienced. He's really quick for a centre back. That's one of the highlights.
The pace is a real
highlight.
Pace
is frightening. So to have that centre back is really reassuring. Especially at the moment we've got Evans.
Yeah, experience at that age as well. Like you say, you can't buy that.
No,
obviously we'd have to put a value on the player, but you cannot buy the experience he has already.
You have to imagine Real Madrid want around 30 million for him, which I think is reasonable.
Yeah,
given the current market inflation,
without a doubt. I mean, do you think some sort of system, perhaps De Gea plus 10 mil? Are we going to get more than that for De Gea if we sell?
I think De Gea plus between 15 and 20.
Okay.
Because you need to be realistic. De Gea, obviously they bid for 13 million, which is insulting, but he has only 12 months left on his contract.
This is it, because I've seen United fans going off on one on Twitter about this. What are you expecting?
We're not going to get 40 million. We're not going to get 30 million. We're going to get 15 to 20 million. It'll probably be 20 million maximum.
I made the point as well. The most expensive La Liga keeper ever signed in history was Oblak, £12.6 million.
Yeah.
So La Liga, they're not well known for splashing out on goalkeepers.
If Real Madrid don't want to go any higher than 20 million for De Gea, I wouldn't sell. I don't see the point. I'd keep him for another year. We've talked about this in previous shows. But if they're prepared to let us offer De Gea plus, say, 15 million for Varane, I would more than happily do that.
Okay, let's stick at the back then. Nathaniel Clyne, of course, was our number one target. Looks like he might be on the way now to Liverpool, which would be a real strange one. I don't know why he decided to go there, but that's what's been reported.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, the Liverpool Echo is confirming this, so I'm not reading too much into it at the moment. But it does seem to appear that LVG's interest has cooled on Clyne, so there must be other targets out there.
Well, I mean, one of the targets that's the latest one that's come into play is Fabinho from Monaco. Yeah. Would that be? I mean, is that good enough for United?
He performed very well against Arsenal.
He did,
but I've not seen enough of the lad, to be honest with you. He had a stint at Real Madrid as well that didn't work out. He was on. I think he only played one match for them, and it was a substitution appearance.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure how much LVG's seen of him. 20 million euros, I think, is the fee that Monaco quoted us. So you need to think in the current market it's quite reasonable.
It's a lot of money when you consider some of the other options out there. We discussed them on last week's show, the likes of Coleman, Carvajal, Darmian, etc. There are other names surely you'd put ahead of him.
I don't understand why we're not looking at Clyne. If it is true, and obviously he does go to Liverpool, it would be such a waste.
It'd be a real
I don't
shambles.
think he's world class, but I think he's got the potential to become world class.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move a bit further up the pitch. A bit of an update on Firmino. Where are we up to in the world of Firmino?
Well, apparently his agent's confirmed that he's definitely moving to England. So read into that as you would. It could be United. City will link with him in January. It could be them. We don't know who it's going to be. The agent won't confirm who it is. I think we'll wait till after the Copa America before we hear anything.
Is it that big a deal if we miss out on him?
No.
I don't think it is.
I think he's predominantly being signed as a squad player, if I'm being brutally honest with you.
Especially when you look at the price tag attached to him. It's like something like £13 million.
I've seen £13 million, but then I've seen 30 million euros. So I'm not entirely sure what the actual current price tag is. Don't get me wrong, I'd have him. I've watched him briefly in the Copa America. I've not seen enough of him, but he looks a very skillful player. Very good dribbling.
Because there's the thing. I mean, we've got plenty of talent already in that area of the pitch. Yeah. And I'm just worried that a lot of United fans are after a player that a couple of weeks ago they'd probably never heard of, if we're honest.
Yeah, this is the thing that I love on Twitter. We get linked with a player, and then all these fans come out of the woodwork saying, "Oh, he's brilliant, he's awesome, he'd improve the team." and they've not watched them.
Yeah.
It's just YouTube videos and FIFA that they're going off.
Let's end on a player out then, Nick. Just a quick line or
Yep.
two on this one. Januzaj supposedly come out now and said that he wants to stay and fight for his place.
Yeah, it's very brave, but I think it's very stupid. He's at the time of his career where he needs to play football. He would get guaranteed that at a smaller club for the season. It wouldn't do him any harm to get some Premier League games under his belt. With obviously Di Maria being around, Depay, Mata in form, there isn't a lot of room left in the squad for him, especially out on the wing. In the number 10 positions, no. So he needs to really consider going out on loan.
Absolutely. Now, Januzaj loan would be the most likely thing you'd think for him, but it looks like he might try and stay and fight for his place. What are your thoughts on this and anything else we've discussed on this week's show? Do get in touch. We're on Twitter at WeFollowUnited. Do get in touch with us. Watch the video, like, comment, etc. Please do let us know your thoughts. We'll be back again next week with more transfer talk with Mark, with Dodgy Dave, etc. We've been the Red Devil Chronicle. This is the Chronicles. Thanks for listening.